Did you know that there are around 2,000 kinds of cheese? Yes, each one has its flavor and texture. Now, in this video, we'll understand the process behind how cheese is made, one that's a bit complex, and by the end, you may be surprised by what you find out about the aging process of this dairy product. Let's begin. Milk collection. All the farming locations, whether they have cows, goats, or sheep, take extreme care of the health and cleaning of the equipment used to milk animals and the animals themselves. After the collection process, the milk is cooled to keep the flavor nuances fresh and retains its integrity effectively, those subtleties introduced by the animal's diet and terrier. Then the milk will be housed in huge, sterile tanks at the appropriate temperatures until it's loaded for transportation to the cheese-making plant. Special care is taken to ensure that the collected and stored impurities such as dirt, bacteria, chemicals, foreign substances, or contaminants. Pasteurization. Upon reaching the factory, milk is instantly pasteurized by technicians who adjust settings such as time, pressure, and temperature to fit the market needs of the cheese being made. Such needs may involve taste, texture, microbe safety, and the uniformity of the end product. The milk goes through pasteurization, which retains the milk's enzymes that are found there naturally, and this is necessary because they modify the composition of the milk as it ferments into cheese, creating different kinds like mild cheeses with distinct tastes and smells, or those that have soft or semi-firm or firm texture, and so on. Curdling. After pasteurization, the cooled milk is poured over the starter cultures, getting it ready for fermentation. Before the milk is coagulated, it should be made sour so that its acidity can reach the required point. The flavor of the cheese and its type determine the precise level of acidity required. To produce cheese successfully, it is important to select appropriate fermenting agents, which might take a lot of work every time. One has to think critically about this, because what they choose as a starter culture will affect how different characteristics are brought out in their end product. On the whole, such transformation is the cornerstone of cheese making. Cheesemakers use their expertise to gauge the perfect timing for cutting the curd, ensuring consistent quality and texture across batches. To do this, different factors like firmness, acidity, and visual cues are considered. Curd processing. Then we move on to the cutting, which is an exact and properly timed operation. This is the last thing that has to be done after the coagulation of the proteins reaches an excellent consistency for cutting. The curd is stirred after cutting and slowly heated through cooking, which tightens its structure and encourages the whey to separate. In this phase, getting the timing and temperature just right is crucial. If they're too high or if the cooking goes on for too long, curds may end up being tough and rubbery. The cheese vat and curd cutter are designed not only to maintain a consistent temperature, but also to facilitate continuous stirring, which ensures process similarity. Molding and pressing. The cooked curd is then ladled into the mold. Pressing the cheese expels the remaining whey, firms up the curd, and sets the cheese on the path to developing the desired texture and shape. Cheese-making molds are designed based on the type of cheese to be produced. This means that the sizes and shapes of these molds vary with different types of cheeses. The reason for this is that each cheese has to acquire the desired shape and texture as it is pressed. Furthermore, materials used in making molds also differ depending on what kind of cheese is being made. Some varieties need particular materials, which helps them attain their unique taste profiles during maturation. During this stage, cheesemakers routinely monitor the cheeses to ensure that the pressing process is done as intended, and if necessary, they make adjustments to the weights and pressing times to maintain optimal conditions for cheese formation. Salting. Salt can be added to cheese through two methods: dry salting, where salt is applied directly to the surface, or brining, where the cheese is submerged in a salt water solution. The type of method influences the taste, rind, and overall texture development of the cheese. Dry salting brings in some of that human finesse with its need for a skilled hand to evenly distribute the salt over the surface of the cheese, a technique often preferred for softer cheeses. This process helps in seasoning the cheese and getting the moisture out to help firm up the texture and form a protective rind. Aging. Aging, or affinage, is an important step in making cheese, which requires storing it carefully at certain temperatures and humidities so that its flavors and textures can develop. What is needed varies with different types of cheeses. Moreover, solutions like brines containing salt water might be brushed on some cheeses to make specific crusts grow and increase taste while they are being matured. The maintenance of a uniform heat level helps ensure even ripening throughout aging. One little dip below would rot or halt the ripening of this cheese, thus stressing the need for accurate control over the surroundings at such times. The next step on the list is, without a doubt, the most critical part of the process. Quality control. Finally, each batch of cheese is subjected to hard quality control. The quality tests are used to guarantee compliance with health and hygiene requirements and that the cheese has the flavors, aromas, and textures that it should possess. The microbial testing ensures a further safety margin by demonstrating that detrimental bacteria do not grow, while other tests check for the correct fat and moisture content. The results obtained from these tests can also provide feedback to help in improving the next batch and the continuous refinement of the cheese making process. And now, the final step: packaging. It does involve the final cheese maturation, in which cheese gets ready for packing, a critical process for both the longevity and the quality of the cheese. Packaging materials used depend on the type of cheese being packed, as sometimes the cheese is packed in a breathable material, and at other times vacuum sealed to stop further maturation. For some premium cheeses, they continue the practice of hand wrapping to ensure that the shape and the rind of the cheese are both protected. In addition, special labels with information on when to consume it and the specific type and the origin of the cheese are part of the package, to serve a double purpose for the customers and regulatory compliance at the same time. Now, as we approach the end of this illustrated tour into the world of cheesemaking art, do stay with us for the next delightful discovery we're going to make. We hope you enjoy the process of how cheese is made.